Hello, and thanks for joining us today. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Robin Rathor from Bamboo Auctions. Robin, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really well, thank you. We're here to obviously talk auction, but as an estate agent or ex-estate agent, I can tell you that the one thing that we know from talking to other agents up and down the country at the moment is that, if you were to put your finger on where our biggest challenge lies in terms of sales, it generally speaking is getting sales to stick and go all the way through. And the other thing would be transaction times. The transaction times have just been lengthening and lengthening. And that means that these agents' pipelines are getting stodgier and stodgier because they're just not able to transact in a relatively short period of time. And in a bit of the market where we're entering a more challenging environment, we need to keep momentum going. We need to keep that delay down to an absolute minimum.
Yeah.
Enter from stage left auctions.
Yeah.
Surely
Yeah.
this is the answer.
Well, I mean, it's one of the answers. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's that there are many answers out there, but auction is a tried and tested method of sale that should and can be offered by agents to speed up transaction times, as you say. I mean, it's a highly effective, very efficient method of sale.
And it's sort of what I love about it is it has the beginning, middle, and end in terms of time frames very clearly stated. So if I came to you with a client who has to be out of the house by a certain date, and there's some major life event that they're planning for, or they're particularly motivated and they just maybe need it to go through as quick as possible, we're able to build them a really fixed timeline, which in regular sort of private treaty sales we're unable to do because we've got that whole marketing period and that wait and see period and that follow-up period and then pushing it through. But there's no certainty there, is there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the beauties of auction and in particular bamboo as well. So the way that the way the whole process works, as you say, is that it offers certainty of transaction time, but for the agent, but it also offers certainty of transaction in general for your vendors. And I think that is a really important selling point, particularly in a market that we're in or going into. I think we're in it already, but that's the reason why I think auction really does have a place in the market that we're in. Bamboo itself is we do things slightly differently actually, because we're not so bamboo is not an auction house. We're not an auction provider, an auctioneer in of ourselves. What we do is we provide technology to estate agents that enables them to become the auctioneer, and we, with our support, with our technology and our back office support, effectively will nurture an agent into that method of sale. So we will help those agents to be able to deliver online auctions to their buyers and sellers, and that has a number of advantages. First of all, agents keep control over the whole process from start to finish, so they don't need to sort of lose control over the vendor relationship or lose the sales progression. But it also means that they sort of maintain the local reputations, because they are controlling that from within. And it also means they control things like buyer fees. So our agents determine their own buyer fees, and that's quite particular to the areas that they're in. So if they're in an urban area relative to as opposed to a rural area, they might charge different buyer fees as a result of that because they're selling different kinds of properties.
And so effectively, you enable the agent, don't you, through the use of that sort of technology in your systems and all the backup that you give them, to rather than outsource anything to an external auction party, they're actually taking auction and they're augmenting it, aren't they? They are putting it into their business process, but more importantly, their business offering. So in fact, you're widening the range of services that you're able to offer a prospective customer when they come along.
That's exactly it. So the point is that our technology enables estate agents to become the auctioneer, and in doing so, gives them a much wider range of services that they can offer to vendors when they go to the living room. And that's something that is invaluable when they're competing for instructions against the local competitors.
I think it's great to have that obvious point of difference, but obvious sort of reassurance as well to the client that there are just more than one method, that it's not just simply sit there, cross your fingers and hope that the phone is going to ring, that there is actually some proactive sales program effectively that you're going to be able to offer all of those clients. Let me ask you, as an agent then, you've got my attention. I understand now exactly how this can be implemented and integrated into my offering and what I'm doing. What's the process in terms of working together with you at Bamboo, and how do I fully integrate that into my business the best way?
So we've got a couple of ways that you can work with us. The standard way is that you give us a call, we set you up, we fully integrate a white label of our platform, which it fully integrates into your website, and it's branded with your colors, and it sits within the body of your site with your own URL as well. So agent.com/online auctions. So for all intents and purposes, it is your service. And we will provide you effectively an extension of your back office. So that's how our agent partners see us, as an extension of their back office function. And we support the negotiators to be able to deliver the service. So we will never interact with the vendor directly. We will actually always interact with the negotiator. And it's the negotiator then that communicates the message to the vendor, because it's your client, it's your customer.
Yeah.
So in that way, we've sort of, and that's all part of the experience of being able to empower the agent. And ultimately, our purpose is one: we help our agents sell more properties, and that's by using. So that's through our technology and through our support. So everything we do at Bamboo has that one sole focus. It doesn't matter whether it's features that we're building or introducing new work processes and flows. If it achieves that, that's the goal.
That's
the other way that you can use us is actually through CRM. So we've just launched our CRM integration with Repit. So we're in the Repit Foundations platform. It's free. It's a free app for agents to download, and agents can actually, whether or not they have a contract with Bamboo, so it doesn't actually matter if you have a contract with us, you can list properties straight into the Bamboo network
through the CRM.
Through the CRM,
seamless.
Exactly. So through the CRM, a few clicks, fill in a form, and you can then from your CRM set the time periods. You can set your guides and reserves. You can upload your legal documents, and you can basically manage. You can launch properties from your Repit Foundations platform.
That's fantastic.
Straight into the Bamboo network, and you get given a link, and then you can promote that link to your wider marketplace.
That is going to be a massive time saving for agents, and sort of a lack of duplication there, because it's something that you could go straight through with. The all-important question I'm going to ask you, so we know why you're different, and we know how you enable agents differently. How does this compare, though, for people that are watching and they're familiar perhaps with how how much traditional auction houses may pay and how it works financially in that respect? How does this compare for your agents?
Okay, so there's a couple of things. So first of all, agents can choose or not to set buyer fees. And those buyer fees can be a percentage of the purchase price, or they can be a fixed fee. It's completely within the control of the agent. We've got some agents who are setting modest buyer fees, and we've got some agents and we've got some agents who are charging slightly higher buyer fees, and they're using that as the way to effectively, that subs in for the commission that they would have charged to the vendor. Bamboo charges a fixed fee on the sale of every property. It depends on the volume that agents do, but it's always fixed. So even if an agent is charging a percentage, then obviously Bamboo's is still
capped effectively. Yeah,
capped. Exactly.
Okay, that's great, and I suppose that gives the agent at least they know, they're able to plan ahead, aren't they? They know exactly where they stand in terms of what they're having to pay for that service.
And what I would say is that the fee that Bamboo charges is dependent on the volume of properties that are going through the platform. So obviously, if you're only doing one every 6 months, then that's a different fee structure to if you're doing 10 a month. The other thing that I would say is that built into the white label, built into the service that Bamboo provides and the technology, are payment handling. So we've got payment handling built into the system to take all of the fees that buyers are charged. And we also do enhanced electronic ID checks. That's all built in as standard into the platform. So it does take a cost and admin burden away from agents.
We know the obvious, I suppose the obvious win is here that, and this stat I found sort of staggering at the beginning. We spoke about this a little bit off camera, but the average time to buy and sell a property is approximately 20 weeks across the board. But with Bamboo Auctions, you speed up the transaction times to just 5 weeks. It's a quarter of the time. It's a massive win, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer, actually. I mean, when you put it like that. But yeah, we speed, so from listing and launching a property to completion. We're doing transactions in to exchange. Sorry, we're doing transactions in 5 weeks on average, and that's incredibly important in a market where people are constantly changing their minds.
Yes.
And it's also really important in a market where working capital is so critical to estate agents. It's a huge amount of work goes into transactions up front. And so a fall through can be quite costly. And with our system, because we're taking fees instantly at the point of the sale, we're paying those out within 7 days to our agents. So it just speeds up the cash flow. It speeds up cash flow for our customers.
It's a massive. I think that's a massive point, isn't it? Cash flow is tight, and it's going to be tighter in the market that we're talking about, especially where those pipelines are taking longer to progress. But if I can just take a moment with you before I sort of get to the final thing, but before we do, I think it's worth challenging the preconception that agents have about the auction process, and this really is or more importantly, properties that are suitable for auction, because our preconceptions on this really are a little bit misguided. But we always assume when we're talking about auction properties that it's for something that is distressed, it's for something that is run down, something maybe a little bit down market. It's better for, perhaps you'd be mistaken for thinking it's better for lower value properties that would appeal to investors, and that a client engaging in an auction sale is perhaps, desperate, they're not going to achieve their full market potential. That just simply isn't the case, is it?
No, it's not. And we are seeing more and more normal, in inverted commas, properties coming in. Ultimately, there has been a stigma around auction in the property sector, specifically, because if you look at other auction verticals, this stigma does not exist. But in real estate and property in particular, there is a bit of a stigma that it's sort of the low hanging fruit, that it's sort of distressed stuff, and I think that is very much changing. And we are seeing more and more normal properties coming in, and normal properties selling, and actually the price of those properties, it isn't just sort of the cheaper end. Obviously that does pretty well, but the most expensive property that we've sold, I think, was 5.4 million.
Wow.
We've had a number of properties well in excess of 1.5 million.
So these are premium property brackets, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think those prices alone sort of disprove the well, I mean, they obviously disprove sort of the myth. Cheap stuff is for auction.
The myth, and you know what? It's something almost perpetuated by agents over the years, because we always saw auctions as a threat rather than as something we could utilize ourselves, because we didn't have that technology, or we didn't have the methodology to do it. It was a specialist area that we had to sub out to, and that's...
Although if you think about it, I think, like, maybe if you go back 40 odd years, a lot of estate agents were auctioneers.
Yeah.
I frequently walk, you walk down the street, you see those really old, amazing grade 2, grade 1 listed buildings that say, X and Sons.
Valuers and auctioneers.
Valuers, auctioneers, and estate agents. And all that's happened is that they've just lost the auction expertise because it was either too expensive to run it, or they couldn't get enough properties in to have a catalogue. Well, you don't need to have that with online. So what we're doing is really returning that skill set back to estate agents in that way. And it's quite exciting, I think, from my point of view, to see agents. I mean, we've seen agents that, dare I say it, have been quite reticent, quite reluctant to take on the auction service, have then taken it on and have absolutely thrived with it and have been really successful. And those, in a way, are some of the customers that I feel most proud about, because it's not so much that they've taken that it's required more work, but it's actually that they're doing something that they had a natural aptitude for. But for whatever reason, whether it was cost or whether it was just simple infrastructure point of view, they just never took on the service. And so that's really pleasing for us.
So in terms of, I know the answer to this next question is likely to be yes, but I'm sure there's a little bit more to it than that. But I'm presuming that your method of auction and the way that you enable agents to adopt this and to integrate it as part of their offering and also their processes and systems, it is the future of property and online auction, prop tech and online auctions. But my question to you is where do you see it going in the future? Where, because prop tech is enabling agents to gain those efficiencies that they maybe have, we discussed a skill set that they forgot that they had, and now that's enabling them to do it. What is that future?
So I think the future of prop tech businesses in general, and I think actually technology businesses, all technology businesses, I think the ones that will thrive will be the tech businesses that combine human with technology. It's the businesses that will enable enable people to do the things that they are very good at, and actually provide and technology that actually enhances the people-focused elements of the job. They are the businesses and the tech businesses that will, I believe, will thrive in the future. Property is you can't get away from the fact, and I don't think anyone should want to get away from the fact, that property is a people-focused industry. No transaction, transaction is the same. And that is why you need the local expertise. It's why you need the reputable estate agent that knows everybody on the high street, that knows, that remembers the sale from 7 or 10 years ago. I think it's getting longer and longer, but remembers the sale from 7 years ago or 10 years ago, and knows the intricacies of that particular property, because it's the most expensive thing that people will buy, and it's incredibly personal.
Yeah.
And whether it's being bought for investment or whether it's being bought to live in, it's something that always requires a human touch. And so the tech businesses that will be the most successful businesses in the future are the ones that will augment and enhance that personal experience. And I hope and I believe that we're doing that, because we're taking a lot of the admin away from estate agents, and we're actually enabling them with our support. We're enabling them to deliver the best caliber and the best quality of service to buyers and sellers. And I hope that that's what, I'd like to think that as we grow even bigger, we will maintain that high level of customer service. And we will also be able to deliver that support for our agents to be able to pass that on as well.
I think that's tremendously important. I think almost that suppliers these days to that kind of prop tech sector, there needs to be a certain amount of service level matching, because the agent can't have an exceedingly high level of customer service and then the tech that they use not be on a par with that. And what you're saying is, yes, everything about your processes and everything about the way that you value that in that you don't want estate agents businesses just to be completely sort of transactional. There is that human element. I mean, you do need to have the time to be able to do that. And if the tech is working against you, there's just no point in integrating it in that way. But I think you've got the perfect crossover, haven't you?
Well, I hope so. I mean, and I think, having spoken to a lot of our customers, because we routinely almost focus group our customers to find out how they're doing, what they want. In fact, everything that's built in all the features that are built in the Bamboo platform have been built with consultation from our customers. So our agents input into the development of our platform. So we don't have superfluous tech. We've only got tech that agents want and need to make their jobs better, and to improve their sort of daily like business as usual.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. You don't want a piece of technology that's going to replace the very reason why estate agents became estate agents. And I believe that one of the reasons why a lot of agents, because they're a really entrepreneurial bunch of people, and I think that a lot of the reasons why they went into this were, the buzz of the deal, but talking to, actually communicating with individuals on a daily basis, imparting local knowledge and getting to know local areas. And all of those things need to be enhanced by the technology that we're providing, certainly not replaced.
It's so important. I can't say, if you gave me the choice of what kind of estate agent I'd like to be, I think that estate agency as a career gets boring when you just become a simple order taker. I think if you can put that people focus into it, I mean, that's the reason most of us got into estate agency. Certainly anybody that's sales focused, you end up having those conversations with people. And I'm blessed to have conversations with many different agents who have seen it all. They've had years and years in the industry. And if you were to ask them what they enjoy most, they enjoy helping people with their moves. And I think that's the key to it, isn't it? Rather than just wham bam, thank you, I'll take the cash and go. Those days are gone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I truly hope that we've built, and I think we have. In fact, I'm convinced we have, because I see it on a daily basis. And
he seems genuine, I've got to say.
I'm pretty sure that we're doing it right. It's one of those things where I'm convinced that we are doing something that first of all, helps agents sell more properties, because that is what we're all about, but makes their day-to-day lives more interesting, more exciting, and really wants to motivate. We really want to motivate agents to be able to deliver the auction service with passion, and it's that thrill and the cut and thrust of the deal that we want to enhance.
Fantastic. Well, all of Bamboo's details can be found on kerfuffle.com. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
It's great to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.